to the republic,
for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. So we can go ahead and call roll call, please.
Yes. Commission Chair Tim Dean.
Here.
Vice Chair Bruce Angell.
Here.
Commissioner Jan Berg.
Here.
Commissioner Yvonne Van Ornum. She is here. And Commissioner Mike Thomas.
Here.
Thank you very much. After the roll call, we're looking at approval of the agenda. Before we do approval of the agenda, I was informed just prior to the meeting starting that item number 2 is going to be deleted from the agenda today. So prior to approval, I would request a motion deleting item number 2.
Move to approve the agenda with elimination of item 2.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on that? None? Great. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None opposed. Okay, great. So agenda has been approved. So let's move on to workshop items. These are just going to be discussion items today. Although there is a chance we might be voting on item number 3 tonight. So please keep that in mind. At this time, I'd like to open item number 1, the Lindsay Annexation, which is PLN number 731.
Yes, the applicants, Joe Mathias, Greg Blunt, Susan Burnt, David Hale, John Marquesinas, Gregory Kern, Verl, and Diana Basem, and Judith Ledger have submitted a 10% petition for annexation form for the annexation of approximately 97.5 acres located in the southeast side of the city. The properties are within the city's UGA urban growth area, as well as the current city limits are currently adjacent to the property or the properties to the north and east. And based off of this, prior to the establishment of the city of Arlington running its own comprehensive plan, this is the background information in 95. Snohomish County wrote for the city their 1985 comprehensive plan that included the expansion of the urban growth area to include the parcels proposed, if you could go to the map just to illustrate. Oh, okay. Looks like the map was not included. Sorry about that. But essentially, it's 3105-2500-2005. Essentially, all of the parcels within the UGA area were a part of the city's urban growth boundary, and as part of the 1995 comprehensive plan, the area south of 172nd and west of SR9 was identified as a future growth area, called at the time the SR9 or the State Route sub 9 sub area that was strategically located near the employment hub of the airport, as well as being located near the central business district of the city, as well as intersecting with several regional arterial systems. At the time, and it's still applicable today, the city saw that this is having great potential for high density residential and neighborhood commercial infill, potential to serve as a primary link between the other areas and within walking distance of Arlington's industrial area, now commonly referred to as the Cascade Industrial Center. Previously, this annexation was heard in 2006. At the time, it did not include 2 parcels that have been included as part of this current submittal, but previously the attempt failed at the 60% petition because it was put on indefinite hold due to sewer capacity issues and concurrency requirements for both, for sewer availability could be satisfied. On April 6, 2009, Ordinance 1451 was signed by Mayor Larson, which rezoned the area in question to a master plan neighborhood. Zoning required it being under a master plan neighborhood development. On August 18, 2009, the city issued a notice to the previous applicant that the city had planned and financed and started construction of the sewer plan expansion that would be able to serve the area and move forward with the annexation process. And on October 7, 2009, city staff issued notice to the applicant if there was any interest in continuing, and the city did not hear any response by the required date of October 20th, 2009. So the previous application was voided. And so the current applicants are unaffiliated with the previous submittal, other than that some of the same property owners still exist. And the addition of that parcel 31052600100300, which was a condition of the previous 60% petition to move forward. The current applicants are partial owners within the annexation are moving forward. Based off the current submittal, 49.73% of the Snohomish County assessed value has been reached based off of the information available from the Snohomish County assessor. Based off of this, staff has reviewed the draft findings in review of this process and reviewed it in comparison to the comprehensive plan. And it meets that through planning goals PH 1.1, GL4, PL 4.4, GL6, and PL6. Those essentially include a variety of housing types, and density should be encouraged on lands with a residential land use vegetation, as well as accommodate new growth areas in a manner that supports a growth rate consistent with the goals of the State Growth Management Act, as well as hoping to preserve and enhance Arlington's quality of life, its natural environment, and its historical and cultural amenities, as well as proposing urban growth areas expansion should only seek areas within the city's urban growth areas, as well as all unincorporated urban growth areas within the city. And also just be aware, this property also falls under a master plan neighborhood development overlay for the whole of the area, the Lindsay Annexation area. In order to fill the requirements of the master plan development, any development that occurs would have to follow AMC section 2044.02 for a master plan neighborhood. Areas designated master plan neighborhood and comprehensive plan may be sought through or prior to or after annexation of the city. However, in this case where the MPD, the master plan neighborhood development approval is not approved prior to or concurrent with the annexation, the entire annexation area shall be rezoned to residential low capacity until such time a MPND is approved. And in approving that MPND, the council may require that the master plan development comply with any site-specific development regulations that the city may develop. Based off of this, the staff is recommending that city council approve consider the 10% annexation petition and proceed forward with the 60% petition for this property.
Thank you, Josh. At this point, we'll open the floor for any discussion or comment. I'd like to go ahead and go around the room like we do sometimes, guys. So I'm going to start out with Commissioner Berg. Did you have any questions or comments tonight?
I do not.
Okay. Commissioner Van Ornum, do you have any questions this evening?
I do not.
Okay. And then Commissioner Thomas, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I do. Just an explanation, because I don't think that I've ever seen this before. And so it's in the last part that was just read where it says, however, in the case where the MPND approval is not approved prior or concurrent with annexation, the entire annexation shall be zoned residential ultra low capacity until at which time it is approved. So is there a chance that it would never be approved and it would stay ultra low? That was my question. I mean, because I don't ever remember seeing that anywhere in there, Mark, ever before.
Yeah, it's in the AMC, Mike.
Okay.
But you have to remember that the master plan neighborhood is just an overlay. The underlying zoning is actually ultra low capacity residential. So the master plan actually, that overlay allows you to create the zoning as predicated by the code itself, where you have 50% as a lower density development and 50% as a higher density or commercial. So moving forward, we would not pursue this if we couldn't guarantee that the MPN would not be applied to this. So, because it wouldn't make any sense at that point in time.
No, it wouldn't. Yeah, but I just never remember seeing that in there before, written that way. And so that's why I was just asking for information on that.
I really don't know the context behind that statement in there, but it is in there, so we just identified it. So
okay, Yeah,
thank
it
you
makes
for asking.
sense. I mean, it fully
Yeah.
makes sense, but I just, okay,
Anything more?
no.
Commissioner Thomas? Okay, then Commissioner Angel, any questions or comments?
No.
None, and I just had one, kind of, I think that Josh, you had already kind of explained this, but I just wanted to have clarity on it, that by absorbing this or annexing this property, developing it out, this property then would be used to fulfill our obligation to our absorption count for the UGA. Does that question make sense?
Yeah, no, it's included in our calculations for buildable lands. Yes, it will provide for the housing stock and population absorption, correct?
Yeah, that was my question, because I'd hate to see it. Now, does that have a timing issue as to whether or not it has to be done at a certain time? I know this isn't necessarily a planning commission question, it's more of a Tim question, but is there timing involved in this, that if we don't get it done by a certain amount of time, that it wouldn't be included?
No, it's the timing is going to be just take place simply because you have to create the master plan. That has to be vetted through both planning commission and city council for approval.
Okay.
And then the EIS that has to be written for the area also. So that's all in combination. So there's going to be some time that's going to be spent in order to create this prior to it being buildable. So,
It sounds to me like we're going to see this again.
oh yeah, no, you'll see it numerous times.
I figured as much. Okay. That's all the questions or comments that I had. Thank you. So any further questions or comments before we move on to item number 3? So none. Let's go ahead and then move on to item number 3. This is going to be the Smoky Point Boulevard corridor design.
So I know that it was kind of late that I sent out the memo, the traffic analysis for Smoky Point corridor. Before I go any further on that, I just want to make sure that you've had opportunity to be able to read that document in context with the letter that was supplied to you also. And that's to all planning commissioners.
I've had the chance to look at both.
I've had a chance to look at both. It's a very powerful letter.
Me too.
Me too.
So it sounds like everybody's had a chance to look at it. Mark, so
Okay. So where I'm going to start with this is that the Smoky Point corridor and the adjacent neighborhoods have been really under some form of planning for approximately 12 years. There's been a real emphasis put on it over the last 5 years with the creation of the mixed-use development standards and regulations. And so the focus has always been to create this mixed-use neighborhood that allowed for storefront businesses to affront the road in a manner that produced a walkable, livable community where the businesses could thrive here and that your residential component would be separated by an alleyway or a low volume roadway to give that delineation between the two uses. And so we've gone forward with this. We've rezoned the corridor itself to accommodate that and actually require these elements to be produced along the corridor. And so it was a bit of a shock when this memorandum was finally given to us to review. And so going through that, it clearly was in contrast to everything we've been planning and working towards in the Smoky Point community. So it really is up to us at this point in time to put an end to the progress of a 5-lane roadway section going through this, because that's something, if it were to go forward, would completely destroy this neighborhood from this point forward. It would never be able to be recuperate from that impact. And there's no need for this to occur here. There's multiple alternative routes for traffic in the Smoky Point community. Not all traffic has to be on Smoky Point Boulevard. So what we're working towards is a segment of roadway that actually allows you to own and operate a business, be able to bring your customer base in, have them park on street and enter your businesses in order for the business to be viable here. But it's also to do multiple things. One is it allows for you to create a sense of place in the roadway itself. So the plan is to have a planted median, wide planted median with a large canopy tree that goes along the entire length here. And we're talking trees that are significant. We're talking trees that are going to be in the 80, 90 foot range. So you have that in the future, a huge canopy over the roadway section to give you that comfortable sense of place. Keeping the roadway section down to one lane in each direction slows traffic, makes being able to cross the boulevard safe for anybody who's down visiting or taking advantage of the businesses down there, as well as the residents that are in this area, not only now, but in the future. As you know, Smoky Point Boulevard is pretty much a kind of a very dangerous place. There are no sidewalks. There's really no place to go from one point to the other if you're trying to get down to 172nd to be able to walk safely along here. One of the things I want to point out is with the concept that we have for the boulevard, one lane in each direction without having turn movements occurring in that. So that's free flowing traffic on those through lanes because you have a drop lane that you're providing for the on-street parking. So any turn movements go into that drop lane into the parking, and then they have to enter back into that through lane when it's appropriate, just like you would at any intersection. The other thing that this does for you, this design, is it eliminates all the driveways accessing on Smoky Point Boulevard. So that's the reason why the alleyway parallels this. So the traffic can go up and down through that low volume road, the alleyway, to get to the designated intersections where the roundabouts will be. So there's no need for this interruption of flow of traffic with driveways, with traffic entering and exiting the roadway itself. So there's no friction on those through lanes, which has not been taken into account in this analysis at all. The other thing that hasn't been taken into account is the parallel alleyways that are going in here, nor have they taken into account with this analysis multiple roadways that provide for east-west or for north-south direction, or will in the near future. So we're looking at 43rd, we're looking at 40th. All of those will be providing for alternate routes, which takes that flow of traffic and that impact off of Smoky Point Boulevard and distributes it more completely throughout the whole roadway network. So these are things that I just want to point out. And that's just from a functional standpoint. For you to develop a neighborhood that anybody's going to want to live in and have a business that is reliant upon walk-in and outdoor type of venue, nobody wants to sit next to a five-way or a five-lane arterial. And that's never been the concept here, like I said, for the last 12 years, but specifically for the last 5 years. The 5-lane concept was clear back before Smoky Point was even annexed in. That was an old county arterial standard, and it's just been brought forward without any thought year after year after year. But we've gotten to a point now that we have to be making these decisions because this will impact this community from this point forward. So I really appreciate this letter that was crafted here. I think it's very accurate. I think it's it points out some very important items as we move forward here and just how we want to build this community and build it in a manner that it's attractive and that it's a place that people want to be proud to live in, and not just be another, spot on a map anywhere USA. So that's really what we're trying to change here. And that being said, I'd like to enter into some discussion over this.
Thank you, Mark. I guess the best thing we could do at this point is to go around the room again, if that's all right with everybody, to see if they have any questions or comments again. So let me start out with you, Commissioner Van Orlen.
I just want to say thank you. I think this was a very well-written letter, and I really appreciate Mark going into that detail. It really helps me see a bigger picture. Some of this was already brought up, and being able to understand a little bit, like you answered a couple of my questions. So I really appreciate that. And I really like the way this is written, and I really like the emphasis on the pedestrian and bicyclist part. Like I do have a better vision for Arlington to have. I like riding my bike. I like my kids being able to ride their bikes. And it would be nice to be able to go further and to be able to see those roads be bike friendly.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to Commissioner Berg.
Sorry, I'm mute myself. I appreciate the letter too. I'm kind of wondering how we got here. So it looks like Public Works is going one direction and planning's going another, basically, on what the vision for this corridor is.
Correct.
Okay. And I see that the analysis is dated December 2020. So where is Public Works at on this process?
So this is the direction that Public Works has given the consultant, Pertite. We did have a meeting with the consultant, CED staff, Public Works staff, and the city administrator last Friday. And so there was a good conversation that occurred here. And the direction that has been given to Public Works at this point in time is to go back, and to the consultant, go back and reevaluate and take into consideration all these other elements that need to be in this modeling for this analysis, because that was clearly avoided in the production of this. So, this basically for the operations standards says we need to get from point A to point B in a matter of seconds and at this speed. And that's not at all what we're trying to create out in this Smoky Point neighborhood. We want this to be a place that's desirable. We want it to be more of a main street as opposed to a 5-lane arterial. And as I point out time and time again, if you want to go fast with a bunch of vehicles, go a block to the west and stay on I-5. There's no reason that we have to create Smoky Point Boulevard into a bypass for I-5. It doesn't produce anything desirable for our community whatsoever. So
No, it doesn't meet the goals.
No, exactly.
Okay, well, thank you. I hate to, just be blunt, but I know how it's just it's concerning that it's such a different picture for two departments in the same city. So I very much appreciate you calling attention to it and trying to get it back on track.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate your comments, Jan, on this. And it's a frustration. It's something that we've been dealing with on multiple levels in different projects. But this one is so very important, and it just could change the whole face of that community. And you're never going to recuperate from it.
Right.
know,
No, once it's there, it's there.
Exactly. And it's
Yeah.
going to create the kind of businesses and housing that is going to be undesirable. I mean, it's a common fact. So, we just-
That's what, yeah, that's what's confusing is when you look at, you know, the drawings and everything that we've, you know, seen what that could look like. It meets so many, it ticks all a lot of boxes that we're trying to achieve for the city.
right.
And like you said, I understand Public Works has, you know, one of their goals is to move traffic, but there's an alternative, you know, not very far away, like you said, just to keep moving, you know, north or south.
Right. And
Yeah.
if you look at this, you know, the rezone designation for the commercial corridor, which is on the last page of the letter, really points it out very clearly. If we were to go forward with this roadway design, we would be in violation of our own code and ordinance because this does not address any of the elements that are in this zone whatsoever. So,
That should be enough right there.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really where the frustration's at. You know, and really what has to come out of this, and we keep trying to do this in a manner that, you know, and try to work cooperatively between the departments, but it really comes down to just the acknowledgement that land use has to lead the way. Land use is the first thing you need to address in order to develop any of your other plans. That's for transportation, that's for utilities, that's for everything else, follows what the land use is and what the projection is for in the vision for the use. And that's something that is a kind of a hard thing to get done in the culture that we have, so.
Well, that's why land use is so important. Yeah, no, I really appreciate you guys taking the time, and I agree it's a very thoughtful, powerful letter, and I appreciate you doing that. I think it's needed.
Thank you. So I'll finish there, Jen, or did you
Yes,
have?
thank you. No, it's
Not a problem. I'm going to move on to Commissioner Thomas. Any questions or comments?
Oh, yeah. So I started out and I saw Mark's most recent email. It said, here's the traffic study. And so I read that before I got to this letter. And I was just in shock thinking, holy smoke, this isn't what we planned. What are we going to do about this? Especially when I got down to the intersection level of service analysis and it said delays which were in excess of what could be calculated. I was like, oh no. But then I read this letter, and once again, you guys did a great job. It's a very powerful letter, and I agree with it. And I think that we need to move in the direction that we've been working for.
Perfect. Well, I wanted to move it on to Commissioner Angel. Did you want to add anything?
Well, yes, I do.
Thank you.
First of all, it's hard to know where to start. In answer to some of Jan's questions about the disconnect between public works and land use, as a number of commissioners can attest, we've been dealing with this disconnect for some time. It's not new. The larger problem is that very few of our planning documents seem to be in sync. When we talk about I'm talking about the comp plan and the documents that are a part of it by reference, which include, among others, the shoreline master plan, the transportation plan, the sewer plan, the water plan. Some of these are written before the land use element of the comp plan, which I never have understood. How do you do a transportation plan without knowing land use? So it's not a new problem. And it's come to a focus now because in the last 5 or 6 years, we have come to a vision of development that satisfies growth management and at the same time has the potential to build livable communities. But it comes with some caveats, and one of them is that in form-based code, the provisions for both the public and the private realms are significantly important. And always with people who write about form-based code, you cannot ignore the public realm, and that includes parks and open space and streets. And for us, the predominant open space are streets. And we simply haven't planned that streets, the design of street profiles has to follow the land use around them. And there's so much literature on that and on things like, if you have the configuration that Pete recommended, it's absolutely unsafe for pedestrians. There's a national plan for pedestrian safe streets called Vision Zero, which aims to reduce or eliminate pedestrian, automobile, or bicycle automobile deaths. And the kind of thing that Petit has recommended is exactly the wrong way to go. That's a dangerous, deadly street configuration for that neighborhood. Think about parking. If we have drop-off lanes, we can provide a good portion of the parking for the businesses along that boulevard on the street, thereby reducing the amount of off-street parking required. Off-street parking is terribly unproductive for a city. And we can reduce that by providing for on-street parking in a way that people will actually use it. There's a lot of literature also on traffic throughput in boulevard configurations, which show that the sacrifice to throughput is minor, whether it's a 4-lane or whether it's a single through lane with a drop-off lane. The difference in throughput is very minor. Well, my hope is that with this letter, we can start convincing council that land use has to come first, that land use decisions have to be made. They've already made a bunch, but that all of the other planning documents have to be consistent with those land use decisions. And I'm sorry to go on, but this is a complex problem. And as long as we have a disconnect between two major departments, it's hard to see a path to solving the problem. Land use has to rule. That's just the bottom line. That's it.
All right, thank you. And I want to just kind of reiterate a little bit of what Bruce said. That was pretty much what I was going to, and Mark also said as well, is that land use is paramount. The other thing that I wanted to sort of emphasize more on my own professional note, perhaps, is that I'm looking more at the way that a neighborhood feels. And when I look at Smoky Point Boulevard south of 172nd, especially when you go a little bit farther south beyond, let's say, the road that turns up to the post office. I'm not exactly sure what street that is. And the feel that when you're driving that, guys, do you understand the feel that you have when you're driving that? That's kind of the feel I foresee that is going to happen going north beyond 172nd. Is that same sort of feel. The first few blocks are going to be okay. And from that point forward, it's going to be, what are we going to have, an extension of Auto Row or what? I mean, I don't think so, but it's not going to feel the same as what I think the plan that has been put out there is going to give us, and what I think we owe to the people of the city. So that being said, I'm going to overstep my bounds. I hope I don't overstep my bounds here, is that I'm going to request that at this time, Bruce and I are willing to put our signatures on this letter. I'm at this time requesting or asking if the other commissioners would be willing to put their signatures on as well.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would too, absolutely.
Now I can send this over to you via electronic signature. And if you're familiar with that, Mike, you could figure it out pretty quickly, I'm sure. You've had to do
I've been doing that a lot lately.
Yeah, you have had to do that a lot lately. So and that way, Bruce and I we can sign it by hand, but I can send it to the three of you for electronic signatures. Would that be acceptable?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Is that acceptable to you, Mark?
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Okay. So that's really all I had, is that I think that hopefully this letter will open some minds and at least perhaps open some dialogue, and at the very least start this dialogue or this conversation between the three departments, which was real, not departments, but you know, your department, Public Works, and City Council. So, right, that's all I have to say today.
I have,
Mr. Chair, Mr. Ch-
sorry.
ahead. I think who was that you, Yvonne?
Yes, sorry. I
ahead.
can't remember. Is this letter gonna is it an email that will be sent to council, or is it something that will be presented during the council meeting?
No, it'll be presented, Yvonne. I don't have it on an agenda yet, but I will move it forward on a workshop agenda item.
Okay. Sorry if you said that earlier. I couldn't remember.
No, thanks for asking the question.
And Bruce, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to say that I think this is a very positive step, and Mike, you can correct me, but I don't believe that a document sent from commission to council in this form has ever been done. And I think it sends a really strong statement. And I can't say how much I appreciate everyone's focus on this.
Agreed.
Well, there's, I think that there was a letter sent, but nothing this powerful or this important. I'll put it that way. But I can't remember what it was, but I remember that we made a suggestion through a letter at one time over something, but it was a long time ago.
Granted. Okay.
Well, I'd like to reiterate that, and I want to thank all the commissioners for their support on this, and that you clearly see the vision for this and you support that vision. So my hat's off to you. Thank you very much.
If it would be possible to get a heads up when you do have that on the workshop agenda for the council, it'd be nice to attend that meeting.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea.
I think we should all know. That way we
Can we?
have the opportunity. Go ahead, Mike.
Can we all do that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Well, if I'm available, I'll try and be there. Yes.
We can't be there in person, if I remember right, but we can still either.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're on Zoom, aren't we?
Yeah. So,
They are too.
that's right.
Okay.
I like the Zoom right
You can
now.
still listen in, or you can, if you have an
Yes.
opportunity, you can view it on YouTube the day after, or later on that evening. So,
Okay. Darn this COVID.
yeah. All right. I think that pretty much concludes our meeting for this evening.
So I have a question.
Go ahead.
So for the electronic signatures, when will that be?
Tomorrow at the latest.
Okay.
So we'll get
All
those
right.
out to you as soon as possible.
Okay. Yeah. It'll be tomorrow evening before I get back again to this. So,
That's okay.
okay.
And then we'll get those down to Mark as soon as possible. If that's okay with you, Mark.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you, Tim.
You bet. And then if that's everything this evening, Chair requests a motion for, before I do that, did we have any public comment this evening?
We do not have any public comment.
Thank you. And so with that, Chair requests a motion for adjournment.
A motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Before we go, I do want to say that Yvonne again wins the background competition for this evening. Very nice background, Yvonne.
You notice how she saved it till the last 30
No!
seconds.
No, I've been trying to turn on my video like 6 times. Every time I turned it on, it would like black me out. Like it was like an old school TV. It was totally weird. And I actually started losing audio. So I
It
thought,
is very, it is very pretty. It's a nice
It
picture.
is, it's nice.
did you notice my groundhog?